Welcome to Rick Rack Ruby. I'm Laura Cluveau. Today we will be making the Glow Fabric Christmas Girl Ornament. She's ready to deck the halls with her tinsel wreath. She's fun and easy, so let's get started. To make the Glow Fabric Christmas Girl, we will start with 5-inch circles of fabric. This is a pattern. I just drew it with a compass on graph paper, and then I chose these two prints for the skirt. You will also need a circle of tulle. I use this turquoise. And set that aside. Pin these two circles right sides together and stitch all the way around the edge with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Here's my circles sewn together, right sides together. This blue print is going to be the outside, and then this white Christmas light bokeh print is going to be the inside. So to turn it, first I'm going to trim my seam allowance all the way around. And then I'll fold the circles into quarters just to determine the center here. And then on the lining side, so for me it's this white print, I'm going to draw a little mark here. That's kind of big. I won't cut all the way to the edges. And I'm just going to slice that in order to create a spot for turning. I'm only going through one layer right now, even though I will have to go through the outside layer also, but I just want a little bit bigger opening for turning, and then I don't want that big hole on the outer fabric. Hope that makes sense. So now I'm going to turn this to the right side. I like to use a chopstick just to make sure I've turned it all the way to the edge of the seam. And then I'm going to go over to my iron to press it flat. Here's how it looks. There's my opening, and there's my outside. And now I'm going to add a decorative stitch around the edge. If your machine doesn't have decorative stitches, you can just top stitch around the edge, or you could sew a little trim like a little lace or a rickrack around the edge. But I'm going to do a scalloped. You know, it's funny. This part of the design is this is exactly what I want my scallop stitch to look like. I even have white thread. Here's the skirt with the decorative stitching. And now you can see that the tulle circle is bigger just because of the seam allowance, so I'm going to trim that later. The pipe cleaners, or the chenille stems, are for the body. The first one folded in half, and this is the body and the legs. So I'm going to fold the tulle circle in half, and it does not have to be perfect. I'm just going to take the tiniest little snip out of the center. You don't even really need to. You can pretty much just push the chenille stem through. Now I want to move this about 1.25 inches down, about this far. And then right on top of it, I'm going to put the skirt. I already have a hole here in the lining, but I need to kind of work a little hole through this layer too. It doesn't have to be perfect, and it doesn't have to be in the dead center. Don't worry about it. Okay, so here's my tulle, here's my skirt, and I can tell I pushed that down too far. Just 1.25 inches. That looks about right. So now I'm going to squeeze a generous amount of hot glue all the way around here. The idea is that I'm going to use the glue to secure these sort of pleats and folds. There's no plan to it, it's just sort of random. I like the way this side is kind of going up and out, and this side is down a little more. I'm going to try to preserve that as I work on my project. These are the legs, and then you can see that the tulle is a little bit longer. That is nice and secure. There's the back. There's a lovely pleat in the back. And now, before I go any further, I'm just going to trim out I'm going to trim out a little bit of this tulle. It doesn't have to be perfect. If some of the tulle shows or if it's raggedy, that's fine. Or, because I know some people are perfectionists, you can just cut your tulle to a 4.5-inch circle. Now next, there's a pom-pom that fits right here. It's part of the bodice. And I have to remember which side is the front. Maybe I'll put a little pin to remind myself that I want this to be the front, because I really like the kooky pleating. So the pom-pom is going to be this purple size, which I think is 25 millimeter. 25 millimeter. And I'm going to use this basic Yarn Bee acrylic yarn in this aqua color. I'm going to wrap each side 30 times. This yarn is from Hobby Lobby, 99 cents, mini maker in aqua. I'm going to tie off the pom-pom with stretchy cord. I love this for pom-poms. This is from Michael's Creatology stretchy cord. I found it in the children's crafts, kind of near the beading. Whenever I make a pom-pom, there's always a few little random ends like that, and that's okay. I can trim them later. In fact, I will trim them later. I'm finding the center of the pom-pom, and I'm kind of holding it open with my fingertip, and then I'm going to insert this right in the center. So the chenille stem goes right through the center of the pom-pom. Don't have to glue it or anything. Now for the face, I have created a 20 millimeter head bead. And you can find the instructions for the Ric Rac Ruby face in my Focus on Faces video. Before I add the face, I need to add the arms. The arms go above the pom-pom. It seems like maybe the arms will go below the pom-pom, but no, they go above the pom-pom like this. It's half of a chenille stem, so I just cut the chenille stem in half for the arms. There we go. And I'm going to kind of keep them together like this so they don't slip around too much. And then I'm going to twist this piece for her neck so that's nice and secure, and it's kind of holding the arm piece down and the pom-pom piece down. And then the face, I'm going to use a lot of glue. And I'm just going to press that on over the remaining bit of the stem. There we go. That looks good. I can tell that the chenille stem is really filling that opening in the bead. Next, we will do the hair. I'm going to use this, here we go, Dolly Mo Woolly Mohair in Snow White. I'm going to wrap this 4 times. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and then cut it. And then I'm going to wrap the center all the way and then tie it off so that I have a little figure 8 bundle. Just tied it twice like a square knot, and then I'm going to trim the ends. I like to leave a little bit of the ends. Don't cut it too short. Same thing, 1 and 2, 3 and 4, and nice long pieces for tying. Wrap all the way around, then take the original piece and tie it off in the center. So we have 2 figure-8 bundles. I always start with the back. Now this girl is going to have a hat. It doesn't have to be exactly perfect because her hat will be covering part of her hair, but I do like to make sure that I have the hair all the way around to the center back of her head. If I do an angel and she has wings and a halo and stuff, I don't need to be super careful with the back of her hair, but in this case I do want to be sure that she has, you know, like the back of her head has some hair down here. That looks good. I'm going to add a little bit more glue to secure these loose pieces on the sides. There's the back, there's the front. And now for the second bundle, I'm going to glue this to the top center of her head and then twist and press that to the side and then twist and press that to the other side. So I'll start with some hot glue right on the top center of her head. Just like that, and then press the center right into that glue. And then twist and press. So I'm going to add some glue right here. There we go, twist and press. That looks good. I'm just going to hold that for a second, make sure that's secure. And then the same thing over here. It doesn't have to be perfect. Twist and press. That looks good. And if you feel like I just went too fast, I do have a hair technique. I think it's called Ruby's hair technique video. I'm going to go ahead and trim a little bit of this pom-pom from the front of her face so that you can see all of her features. That's good. That looks really good. All right, now I left kind of a bare surface up here because I want something for the hat to glue to. The hat is created from a 2.5 inch scallop circle. I cut this out on my die cutting machine from this Spellbinders Nestabilities Big Scallop Circle SM S4250. And these, I really use these a lot. I love these. And this is the 2.5 inch circle, a scallop circle, and I'm going to fold it in half and sew up this edge. Now, if you don't have a die cutting machine and you aren't interested in that, then just cut a 2.5 inch circle. It'll work the same way. It just won't have this little scalloping around the brim. So fold it in half, and I'm just going to sew up the seam right there. There's her little hat. I sewed up the seam and then I clipped the corner so that it'll be a nice pointy tip here. And here, I might even use this to make sure I get that all the way turned. That looks good. Now here's my golden white baker's twine, and I'm going to use this to gather up the edge of the hat. I'm going to start at the back on the outside and just do a running stitch all the way around. Okay, so I've gathered all the way around the outside brim, and I started and stopped on the outside of the hat. And I'm going to glue this onto her head. And really, the hanging loop goes through here, and the only thing that's supporting the weight is this glue, because they, you know, so I want to do a generous amount of glue, and I'm going to apply it in here. And then I'm going to quickly press that on. And I like to kind of like, oh, maybe put a little fold in it or a little, I don't know, just give it a little bit of character. So I'll start by squeezing out the glue on the inside. It's okay if the glue lands on the thread because it's still going to be hot while we're pulling it. There we go. That looks good. And then the back looks good. Great. I can see that I need to trim my pom-pom though. So I pulled the gathers and tied a bow. Just make sure it feels good. Now, just to be sure that the bow is secure, I'm going to do a little overhand knot with the loops of the bow. And then I'm going to add a drop of glue here and kind of press that down. And then I'm going to tie an overhand knot in each end. There's the bow in the back. And now, like I say, I think I need to trim this a few random strands of yarn here, which is not even that big of a deal, but I don't know, I just want it to look a little bit neater from the back. I think that's good. All right, so there's the back, there's the bow, there's the cute little skirt, there's the front. Great, and as long as I have this baker's twine, I'm going to go ahead and add the hanging loop. And that goes right through the top of the hat. Now we're going to make the wreath. She's going to hold a little wreath, which I'm going to make from this tinsel. It's tinsel garland, and it's from Wal-Mart. So I've cut a piece of this garland that is 4 inches long, and I'm going to shape it into a circle and then sort of hook the ends. So the ends went like this. Does that make sense? You got the idea. And I'm going to put it in her hands right where the hooked over part is, that it's a little bit thicker. I'm going to put one of her hands. So I'm going to just kind of loop it through and kind of twist it together right here. So her little wrist has a twist in it. And this hand, and you don't need to put them like this. They don't need to be like 9 o'clock, 3 o'clock. I like them more like 10 and 2. So wrap that one around and then loop that end also. We don't want any exposed wires. That looks good. And now I have a pre-tied bow, and this is from La Petites. And I like to put this offset. Everything's pretty straight up and down here, and I like to just add a little something here. Or you could add a little something here, but I like it right here. So I'm just going to add that right there. So it's kind of over the hand, one hand or the other. And now the legs need a little bit of personality, so I just like a gentle bend in the knee. Don't put them too high, but just a, little kind of a lower knee. And then bend the foot up a little bit. Not all the way like this. Just a gentle little kick. Like that. That looks good. Let's see. I'm going to say she's done. Let me show you how she looks. Here she is from the front, the side, the back. Like this. Here she is from underneath. You see the little tool just gives her a little bit of modesty. And I might, trim up the pom-pom a little more, but I think that's pretty good. What do you think? Thank you for watching my tutorial. If you're enjoying my videos, please like, share, and subscribe.